Hello, freelancers, technical consultants, and the like. This is another episode of reviewing Upwork and the job feed. I'm Mike Fisher, the founder of databindu.com, and I'm here to show you some jobs posted on Upwork, and we'll review the job post itself, potentially apply some solutions to the post, and if we're lucky, maybe we'll get to reply to a post in this video. So I hope this shows sort of the process of what it means to use Upwork as a freelancer or an independent consultant and bidding on jobs, and potentially even some notes and tips and tricks for clients when you're posting a job on what sort of details should be provided so that the freelancers know what the job's about and they can tell if their skills will fit that particular job or not. So let's get started. You can see here on the job feed that I have different search terms. So if I'm looking for jobs within Google Analytics 4, whether that's posting Google Analytics 4 tags on a website or tracking events, then you can click on this and then your job feed will show relevant job posts for that particular search. And then I also have a data scientist tag and then a machine learning Python. So I think this is a simple way for freelancers to sort of filter their job feed and click based on what skills they're using. We are going to continue in the data scientist track here, and you can search for jobs here. You can see some of my recent search history, and then you can save that and it will become a tag here, I believe. So let's say if you're AWS, say we're doing Redshift, yes. See if we can save that. Only 3 jobs. And then to save, go save search. It's probably a little bit too specific here, but we'll save and then hopefully get to show you what that looks like. And then now you have that additional tag right here, which will, like I said, filter through. So set your settings up so you feel comfortable and you can shift through the many jobs that are posted. Anyways, let's start looking at some of these jobs. So here we have data analysis, decision analysis tree, decision tree. Okay, so a decision tree is a type of model. It makes splits at each level. Usually it's tabular data, and for each feature or column or attribute, it'll make splits based on the value. And the leaf nodes at the very bottom are usually the if it's for classification, it would be the classes, right? So this is a dog or this is a whatever. And so at the very bottom, that's the leaves. Those are your target feature. And the tree basically gets built and reiterated on based on the purity metric of how many leaf nodes are correctly labeled, because you can have many instances of the training data in a single leaf node and they may have different target features. So it may say it's a dog, but then there may be a couple examples where it's not a dog, it's a fish, or it's a cat. And so in that case, it would be incorrect and the purity metric is out of sync. And so it'll try to rebuild the tree so that that leaf or the bucket containing the instances or the rows are only one target feature, only one class of the target feature. So it would only be dogs, for example. And so this job is fixed price, $20. And this person has some questions I have some questions to answer. I guess that would be our job as the consultant to answer those. These topics will give you a case description and then allow you to make the best decision. Need to use a decision tree. Time is limited. Therefore, if you think you can complete it, I will contact you immediately. And they're from China. All right, here we have another job, AI model to predict train delay. $200. The basic task is to write a Python program or any other language to implement train delay prediction framework. The task can be divided into a few subtasks. For the given data, write a program to pre-process the data. Okay, this is your data engineering. You're sort of removing erroneous values. You're perhaps normalizing some things, which is a large step in the data science process. Yes, and this person also lists that, such as filtering out the unfinished journeys. Then your second task is to detect the number of stops that a train journey has from the train running data. You'd have to know the train stops for that. So you'd have to have auxiliary data to basically calculate, okay, how many train stops are left for a given train's journey. So first you would need, for number one, you need the tabular data itself of perhaps past train completion stops. The train got to this place, then this place, then this place. You'd probably have a feature with the train identifier, and then what that train path, what path the train was on and it was using, and then maybe you'd have some other metadata like weather and the day and some other context features. But then you would have to link that, for this model, you'd have to link that to number two, which would be the number of stops that the train has and how far away it is from perhaps a particular place or a particular train stop, say. And then here they provide an example. This is really good post so far because they're numbering, okay, this is what we need, and then they're providing examples, which I really like. So, for example, this train stop, we have two different places, one endpoint to the other endpoint. The intercity train services may have different number of stops and at different stations, and this is where you need this data, the second data with. But the train running data, like timetable, should contain this information clearly. You can then write a program or method to detect them. So you'd have to parse. I don't know if they have the information or if you would have to scrape the train timetable from a website to get this. So you could use a web crawler, go to the web page, extract the data on that, and then load that in as potentially number two of this data, and then link it to the prediction model on how long the train will be delayed. So perhaps this person doesn't have the data. Yeah, you can then write a program or method to detect them out. Anyways, 3, to define and extract some features from the train data in order to transform the raw data to a structured representation with input variables and a target variable. So really so they're saying you're going to have to do, for number 3, you're going to do feature engineering to derive how late the train was, right? So you'll have to scrape the data because the target variable here would be time delayed from its expected timetable of when the train arrives. It's supposed to arrive at 10:50 and the train actually arrived at 11. So then you'd take, it's supposed to come at 10:50, but it came at 11. That's 10-minute difference. That's the train delay prediction, right? That would be the target variable, is how late was the train. So 10 minutes in that case. So to do that, we go on the website, we scrape the train timetable, and then we would have to have historical data on when the trains actually arrived. So maybe that's on the website, maybe it's not, but you would take the timetable of when the trains are supposed to come, and then you would use when the trains actually come. You would subtract when the trains actually come minus when they're supposed to come equals the delay, right? If the train can come early, right? So if it's over, maybe you do you wouldn't do an absolute value, but if it's over the certain amount, then it's delayed. Whereas if it's early, then that wouldn't be a delay. Or maybe maybe this particular post, they don't say exactly, but maybe they want to see, okay, well, is the train going to come early or is it going to come late? But I assume because they say train delay prediction, they only care about when the train comes later on, right? They don't care if it comes early, but that would be something that you as the freelancer or analyst would have to figure out while talking to them. Right, but your number 3 is you're doing some feature engineering from the data that you've collected. But it doesn't sound like they have the data, right? So this is actually a multiple pronged project from what I can read and from what they've provided, where you'd have to likely scrape it. I don't know how they have past data on when the trains actually came. Maybe it's on the same website, but I'm not sure. You'd have to look into that. And then, so you'd have to make the scraper to collect it, and then you'd have to load the data in, do the data cleaning and pre-processing, removing trips that didn't finish, or if the train broke down or what have you. And then you would have to do the feature engineering to take when the train was supposed to come compared to when it actually came, to create the target feature or target variable. And then that's what you would use for the model training itself. You'd feed that data into the model. The model would train. Its output prediction would be how late the train comes, or when the train will come. Likely probably how late the train would be, rather than predicting a given time. It would just predict how late it would be, and then you would likely add that prediction to when the train is expected to come. So you'd have to reference the timesheet data once more. Personally, I think $200 is a little cheap for this, considering all the steps that are required for this and whether or not they have the data. But as far as the basic description that this client has provided, I think it's fairly well written. They have their bullet points of what they want. It's fairly laid out. Perhaps I would add something about whether the data is, if they have the website for the data, that would be nice to see, okay, this is the web page that I'm thinking about collecting the data from. So then I could look at it and see the web page and see if it, okay, does the web page have JavaScript on it, right? Because it's more difficult to scrape a web page with JavaScript than it is just a static page. You can still scrape it with Selenium agents, Selenium bots, but that takes a little bit more time. Still not too hard to do, but that's one, roadblock, right? That takes time to set that up and so forth. So I would like if the poster included that information, and then if they also included if they have training data right now, which I'm inferring that they don't from what they've written, but it would be good to just know that explicitly. And then they also provided relevant tags. Well, it's not really AI, but it's just machine learning. You get the point. And they also specified what program they ideally wanted it in, even though they didn't have, they're open to other programming languages, but they do provide Python as the example. All right, here we have network graph analysis. So we have nodes and edges. I'm looking for a talent to help me build a network model that optimizes connections between a given geographic location based on certain control conditions. The network needs to iterate multiple times until a certain target is achieved. So in my humble opinion, it's a fixed price and it's $100. So all I can really infer from this is they're going to use a graph, or what's called a network. They want to apply graph analysis or network analysis to it. So these are graph algorithms. You can do sort of clustering, or you can do connected components of graphs, or you can do min, flow, max, cut. There's certain types of analysis that you can apply to graphs. But from this post, I can't really get what they're looking for this specific type of analysis. And with graphs, there's quite a bit of analysis that can be done. There's a lot of algorithms that you can use. They also, depending on how large the graph is, require a bunch of compute. So that would be one of my questions of how big is this graph? What sort of analysis are you looking to do? Even if it's, you don't have to tell me what method to use, but just provide a description of what you're actually looking for. I mean, they said, okay, they're using the geographic location, and then they want to basically apply control conditions, right? So they're sort of providing a description, but I would like this to be a little bit more thorough so that the freelancer can understand and decide, okay, yeah, this fits my wheelhouse. This fits what I can do. They have ArcGIS, which would handle the geographical information. And so I would imagine this is what they're loading the data in, but then you're going to have to be able to interface with that with Python, which they have here, which that's good that they're providing that. But you're going to have to load the data in and then set up the graph structure, because I don't think this provides a graph structure. And then you'll have to apply whatever graph metrics or graph analytics you have to finish this job. The network needs to iterate multiple times until a certain target is achieved. Yeah, this needs to be described much better. Their tags are good, but from this alone, especially given the price, I probably wouldn't bid on this. This will take quite a bit of work just to interface with ArcGIS and Python, set up the graph structure, run the algorithms on that graph structure, and so forth. And then he's talking about, control conditions. So this is a very complicated project, and $100 seems a little low, especially for the expertise that you're asking for. So I'd like to see a little more details on what they desire, even if it's from a high level. And I probably would give this probably a 4 or a 5 out of 10 on, the provided information. They do have good reviews, 30 feedback. Spent a little bit of money, $3,000. Here's another job posting, it looks like. All right, predicting actual weight based on historical statistics. Actual weight. Okay. We are a scale-up investigating. We are a scale-up investigating. I don't know what a scale-up is. We are a scale-up investigating how to get the best predictive model from a collection of known scales. Like weight scales? Each with their own unique error. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, based on how the scale's designed. One of the scales is very accurate, master, and we have collected a sample of measurements across the scales where the master and other scales have weighed the same thing. Okay? They're basically talking about the precision of a scale and what's the significant digits that it can record accurate to, right? This would be like the precision of the instrument. I don't know if it's the precision of the instrument or the accuracy of the instrument. But you get the point. The error on the normal scales changes over time unpredictably, as far as we can tell. We'd like to see which method is best for predicting the true weight of a sample based on the normal scales. The statistician we'd like will be given access to the data and expected to come up with models that we can use ongoing to have confidence in the data we are getting from the normal scales. Please quote with examples of a similar project you have done. So they'll provide data based on the scale and what it weighed, and then the differences in the error, and they want a model to basically correct the variance in the scale. It's fairly well laid out. They're asking for a quote, so they want to know how much is it going to cost. You can either provide that as a fixed cost or, how many hours that you think it'll take. And then they want you to provide similar projects that you've done to see if you're qualified and if this is something you can finish. It's fairly detailed. Perhaps if they provided some of the data. Oh, here we go. This is, they have an attachment here. I'm a little weary of attachments, downloading attachments from random people, but here I am. Oh, nice. I like this. Yeah, so they give background, 2 data sources. Yes, all right. This is very nice. I would give this a 10 out of 10. They're talking about the deployment environment. Yeah, this is really nice. I would give that a 10 out of 10. Here we have data scientist / engineer needed. I need an available freelancer that can help me find answer to some few questions regarding data warehouse, web scraping, and so on. I need someone immediately. Apply only if you're qualified and available. $0 spent. So they're seeking someone to consult with on data warehouse and the web scraping. It's sort of short. The English is not the best, but this is not a grammar contest. I get what they're saying, and they provide relevant tags. Need expert data scientists to create prediction model. Looking to hire data science specialists to run simple prediction model for specific events. Existing model in Python should be expanded. Solid simulations experience required. Prior experience simulations on sports, a highly desired. So it's probably something with sports data, maybe betting on sports. Python scripting a must, so the model's in Python. Simple task and quick money for expert. Must have extensive and deep experience in data science models. I might even bid on this. Okay, and then here you can see it cost connects to post to jobs. Here it's 2, and then you have available connects. He's doing 100, I'll do 100. Hello, sports. Better. Is it just sports modeler? If I can spell. I can't spell. Modeler. So this is information that I would like to know even prior to me submitting a proposal. These details should be in the description itself so that if any freelancers have this information offhand, so they can see, okay, I'm qualified, or okay, I can do that. I've worked on things like that. Whereas if this client responds and says, oh, it's in some weird Python modeling library that I haven't used, then I'm not qualified. And I've just spent this time asking these questions when it should likely just be in the post itself. So my response is, what is the sports event you are looking to predict? It's number 1. Also, what is the current model and library you are using? I have experience in modeling horse races and esports events. Additionally, I've published research on mining simulation data, Mike. And let's send. And that's that. You've gotten to see a job posting with me. See what else there is. I got a little bit of time. Here we have need expert in AI and machine learning. I have a senior project I've been working on with my team. We want to build a model that can recognize the people faces using the CCT cameras. Recognize people's faces. Apostrophe S. We want your help to guide us throughout the implementation of the AI model, such as the tools that we are going to use, data sets, collecting, and topics related to it. Recognizes the people's faces. Is it particular, like identified to a person, or is it just this? Here's bounding box. Here's where the face is. Recognize the people's faces. Because if it's recognizing people, who they are, like their identity or their name, you would need a database with training instances of what their face looks like. Whereas if it's just bounding box on people's faces, that's a simpler algorithm, which would be trained on faces, but the faces aren't labeled to a particular name or a unique identifier of who the person is. This is one of those projects where what they're looking for are the questions that they have. And so I don't know if they're just collecting this information, if I'm basically going to do some of their homework for them. And, they're just going to use what I type here. And so personally, I probably wouldn't bid on this. Although it's simple enough, you just don't know if you're going to get a response from this person. You don't know if they'll actually hire you for the job. You could write all this out. It could be exactly what they need. And they're like, thanks. And they just don't hire anyone for the job. Right. And so they have no past hiring experience. So I'm a little skeptical. But if it were just face value, you answer this, maybe they want to meet up, talk one time about it. That'd be all right. I don't know. I don't know what they're looking for here. That is all for now. I hope you enjoyed the Upwork overview and got some insight into how to post on jobs.